Metallica shirt for you.
Oh, I love it. I should have worn mine. Okay.
I thought if there's any way to kind of ease the pressure and make it feel a bit more casual and relaxed, it's
Yeah,
go the
yeah,
t-shirt, go the band t-shirt.
I did a very ADHD thing last night. I must be at some part of my cycle, perimenopause, who knows, where the ADHD meds, my Dex isn't working very well, right? So last night I took a sleeping tablet because I don't sleep very well. And it started kicking in. I'm falling asleep on the lounge. Okay, I need to go to bed, need to go to bed. So I went to the bathroom on my way to bed and I was like, I don't like the way my hair's sitting. I'm just going to, so I grabbed nail scissors out of the drawer, start snipping away. And then, like, this is at 11 p.m., an hour later, like, I'll give myself a new haircut. God knows what the back looks like.
Like if there's any, it couldn't be a more
I
ADHD
know.
moment,
Yeah.
really.
And the back, whatever that looks like, is
Well,
not my business.
it looks great from the front.
Thank you. This morning, I'm like, what's it going to look like? Oh my God.
That is classic, honestly. Welcome to Wise Owl Conversations, the podcast where we talk about life, work, and the many ways that our brains are wired. I'm your host, Amy Milnes, otherwise known as the Wise Owl Coach, and I'm so glad that you're here joining us on this journey. This is a space for honest, relaxed conversations with all of my different guests where we talk about navigating life as a neurodivergent person or supporting someone who is. My intention is that through sharing these stories and through our shared experiences, that wherever you're tuning in from, that you feel a little more seen, a little more understood, and a little less alone. Today, I am joined by Tegan Summers, who I first met a couple of months ago during our extended disc training. We were paired together in a breakout room exercise, and then we reconnected together after the training. What I didn't know at the time was that Tegan is also a fellow ADHDer and, like me, received a later in life diagnosis. Tegan has transformed, I've got notes here because I wanted to get this right. Tegan has transformed her own retail and service business while raising her 3 boys and now supports small business owners across Australia as a founder of the Small Business Coach. Tegan, on your website, you describe yourself as a former MD or managing director who is obsessed with small business. And I just love that because obsession in the best possible way, not in like the negative connotations, is something that so many of us ADHDers know really well. And I resonated with that. As soon as I read it on your website, I was like, yep. It made sense straight away. Because when something matters to us, we really go all in, don't we?
Yeah.
It's something like if you are locked into something, it's something that's meaningful to you, it's something that you're interested in, passionate about. It's like hyper
Yeah.
focus, all in. Thank you so much for being here. Honestly, being my very first podcast guest it's an absolute honor to have you here, and I really do appreciate you putting
It's
your
a
hand up to
pleasure.
do this.
It's an honor to be asked, especially to be your first guest. So I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. So I've given a little bit of an intro from what I know about you and from our relationship, but I'd love if you could share a bit about yourself, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with the listeners or viewers, however they're kind of tuning in. If you could share a bit about yourself, that'd be awesome.
You covered a lot of it. What else can I add? So yeah, my ADHD is in my family, and I was diagnosed a couple of years ago at the age of 44. And yes, I did see a lot of stuff on TikTok, but one of my sons had already been diagnosed as well. So I was always interested in learning everything I could about it. And yeah, was diagnosed with combination type, which I didn't expect because I'm not physically hyperactive, but my mind is very hyperactive, which I didn't connect the dots on that one. So and the ADHD meds, the first time I think I've described this to you before. The first time I took them, it was like if you've seen the first Harry Potter movie when all the letters fly into the house and he's standing on the coffee table and they're all going around like this. that's what my brain was like beforehand. And like half an hour after I took my first tablet, it was like all those letters, all those thoughts were just all in a pile with a paperweight on top. Like I could almost feel the weight of it just sitting calmly. And yeah, that was amazing. So, and my anxiety completely disappeared. I'd always been diagnosed with anxiety, and I was like, oh, I actually don't have anxiety. So, yeah, that was very interesting and a bit of a, I don't know if I can swear, bit of a mind. So,
Go for it.
can bleep it
Go for it.
out if you
You can
like.
bleep it. Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It
And
really is, isn't it? Thank you for sharing that, and sorry for jumping in
no,
because
you're
I
right.
just wanted to, I guess, relate to my own experience as well and how similar. I think even when we talked about it the first time, the
Yeah,
similarities between that experience of holy crap, is this what other people are experiencing? Like
yeah,
every day they just experience being able to start a thing and finish it, or being able to, just have all their thoughts organized and have everything all like ready to go. And it's not just this continuous swirling. It was a very similar experience for me when I first um, tried the first type of medication, with the Vyvanse that I first tried. It was the same thing for me. I actually bawled my eyes out because I experienced quiet in my mind, and I've never experienced that before, and I was like, "This is so weird."
yeah,
It was eerie. It just felt so abnormal after I was 41 when I was diagnosed, and I started my medication just after I turned 42, so similar to yourself.
yeah,
That's a big chunk of time to be experiencing the opposite of that, like
yeah.
combined type as well. And yeah, the internal hyperactivity is definitely it's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely it is. It's crazy. And I'd never realized, but once I did that questionnaire, I was like, "Oh, right." Okay, I think I see what's happening here.
Definitely. And then what sort of led to you going down the path of doing the assessment and getting your diagnosis? Was it because one you're like from a family perspective and then piecing it together, or what was it for you?
I think it was a combination of things. I was experiencing a lot of changes in my personal life and stressful job and perimenopause and, a bunch of things. And it had gotten to the point where I'm like, maybe there's something maybe this could help me. If this is what it is, maybe I can, try some medication or some strategies or whatever it is and just be able to function a bit better. And yeah, it was actually in many ways life changing and also a process. Not The diagnosis process was relatively straightforward for me. I was lucky, but um, the process of dealing with it mentally is crazy, especially late diagnosis when you think about your life and, not blaming anyone for not knowing because people didn't know, but how different things could have been if you'd had the support and the understanding and the strategies, before. So I don't know about you, but you kind of go through that range of emotions. There's frustration, there's grief, there's um, sadness, resentment. There's I know that I said there's no blame, but you just feel such a mixture of emotions, and then obviously happiness and relief as well. That you understand why you felt like you were always thinking or acting thinking mainly differently to other people and why you struggled with certain things that other people seem to come easily to them, like in school, doing assignments, starting them at, the night before instead of, when you've had them for 6 weeks sort of thing, that kind of stuff.
There's
But I
nothing like
guess,
that last minute
yeah,
dopamine, like to get it
yeah,
done.
that adrenaline and the dopamine, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, little things like that, and why productivity tips never worked for you, and you get that self narrative about why can't I just do it? I'm just lazy, or I'm just this, I'm just that, and there's actually a reason for it, and it's not any of those things. So you kind of
Yeah.
have to give yourself some self-love and some grace to. It's almost like you have to run things through a new filter, right? I don't know about you.
Yeah, 100%. That's actually such a good way to describe it. It's like you're experiencing, I think I've talked about this on my other vids or somewhere on
Yeah,
something I've talked about this before as well. It's like you're looking at the world through a completely different lens. Actually, I think you and I talked about this. It's like those videos you see where people have never seen color before, or they've never, like the kids that have never
with
heard
the
before, and they get the cochlear implant or
yeah,
something and they hear for the first time. And it's like, whoa, it just opens up, it unlocks the world on a completely different level. And you start to see yourself reflected in a completely different way with how you experience the world, and realizing that like, I'm not the only person that feels like this as well, like that part of it. And I certainly went through that roller coaster. I'm still, if I'm honest with you, I'm still experiencing it. I mean, we're both only a couple of years in.
yeah.
It's a process for sure. Like it's one of those things that it feels, I've just got my little amethyst crystal
Oh,
as a
yes.
little, as a fidget. I press on it. I don't know
I've
why,
got oh, where's it
but it
gone?
just
I've got my
it
little
can't.
backup paper clip that I
Oh, I
can
love
use.
it.
Yes.
I've got it like below here, but I'm like,
Yes.
hey, this the purpose of this is for us to be real and for like
Yeah,
to let go of this whole, I need to be perfect. Like that's why I bought this as well. I ummed and ahed so much about wearing a Metallica shirt
yeah,
on a podcast that's meant to represent me and my business and from that perspective. But the more that I'm leaning into this, and I know I've just segued like so much from what we were talking about, um, but it kind of ties in because the more I'm leaning into accepting, integrating, like the new, not even the new me, but like I guess the me that was always in there,
yeah,
but just didn't feel safe to express or safe to really be me because we got told that wasn't how you were supposed to be. But in
yeah,
so many different ways, shapes, and forms. And even if it wasn't verbally, we received messages from the world, from our surroundings, from society, from media, from every modality you can think of, that this is how you're supposed to be. This, if you're a peg that doesn't fit into that square, if you're a round peg trying to fit into a square hole, you get chucked out, you get rejected, you get put on the outskirts, on the fringes, ostracized, teased, all of those things that happen, bullied later on in life, more susceptible to perhaps being in maybe relationships that aren't as favorable because you're more susceptible to those things as well. There's so many statistics out there about the vulnerabilities of neurodivergent people because of the conditioning that happens
yeah.
and not
And I was
trusting in ourselves. Sorry, go for it.
oh, no, no, you're right, you're right. And I was going to say, which you already said, it's not just the ADHDers, it's all neurodivergent people, whatever flavor you are of neurospicy. So yeah, that's kind of a shared experience, feeling like an alien, or feeling like you don't fit in, or feeling like you don't understand like why you might be feel like you're getting treated differently by your friends or by your peers or whatnot, and not really get what it is that's causing that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's that whole masking thing, right?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that as well. Like it's almost, I think we've talked about this before as well once when we connected. It's almost like everyone else has the cheat codes to a game,
Yeah,
or maybe they're in a different game. They're at a different level. They're in a completely different, like they've got all the cheat codes and you're like, get it. I don't understand how to access that list of cheat codes that just seems so normal to everyone else to access. And also, I think as well, for me, like this process of uncovering who I really am, which it might be still a lifelong thing, it might be one of the reasons that we're here is to figure out who we are and what we're here for. That could be that. I think that's probably a little bit too deep for 10:17 a.m. on a Friday.
that's a
But
whole other podcast,
uh,
isn't it?
that's a red wine conversation, as one of our mentors, Joe, would say. Um,
Yes.
But it's definitely it feels as though I've definitely experienced this, and I've seen in so much of the neurodivergent community, people post about this all the time. It just it feels like there's this all of these unspoken rules that we weren't given.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's that's a really tricky thing to navigate, especially as a little kid that doesn't understand why is it so easy for every single it feels like it's probably if we look at the numbers and look at the statistics, there was probably a heap of other kids that were in our classes growing up that felt the same, that were
Yeah,
just as good at masking and figured out how to kind of hide it from people as well as we did as well.
yeah.
It's
I remember specific situations when I was in primary school where I felt like that. Like I can still remember what happened, my thought process, and all of that kind of thing. So I know that it has always, definitely always been with me. It's not, even though maybe the symptoms became more apparent and I had an understanding of what it could be when I was a lot older. Perimenopause probably helped with that. But yeah, I do remember as a young child feeling that way. So yeah, which is, it blows your mind because it's like the answer was there, but no one knew what the answer was. So, but yeah, there was a reason for it. It wasn't that I was, uh, you know, unlikable or whatever narrative you give yourself when you're young that that might play on your mind, or someone said something and you take it very personally and whatnot. But there was actually a reason for it, and it's okay. But I one thing that's difficult, and there are more factors than just neurodivergence in this, is that I hesitate to use the word journey, but that journey of like figuring out who you are, that self identity, that what do I actually like doing? What do I not like doing? It's interesting with the EDISC behavioral stuff that we've been doing as well, looking at it and talking about how one behavioral trait isn't better or worse than others. They're just different, and that this is how you prefer to communicate or receive communication. These are how you make decisions and whatnot. And once you see that, oh, okay, that's just how I operate, it's not anything bad. That's also really helpful, I think, in getting to know yourself again, because you have to start again.
that's a big one. You have to start again.
Well, I think you do. That's how
Yeah,
I
that
felt.
is that is actually huge. That's something that I haven't heard it said that way before. I need to take a big breath for that one.
Sorry, I got a bit deep there.
No, it's I mean I kind of expected that at some point in this podcast sharing with people because it's vulnerable, right? It's vulnerable to talk about something that it's raw, it's real, there's still a lot of shame, stigma, there's so many things. And I haven't tagged you in lots of stuff in the lead up to this because I didn't know how you would feel about me talking about that you're coming onto a podcast that's about ADHD and neurodivergence and that
No,
sort
that's
of thing
fine.
because every person's journey, there we go again.
Yeah.
Every person's journey is unique to them, and I think there's no judgment. When I first was diagnosed, I kind of didn't want anyone to know. I was a little bit like I was all of the things we talked about. There was grief, there was relief, there was sadness, there was anger. Anger came up, and I don't know if that's again a perimenopausal thing. It's
Yeah.
probably like a combination of all of it.
Put some extra
Um,
estrogen gel on your arms that day.
but yeah, it's can't remember where I was going with that, which is just a classic ADHD and perimenopausal thing as well. The brain farts and
Yeah.
the brain fogs.
I think
Trusting that.
are you saying that we started with saying that you get to know yourself, you have to start getting to know yourself again, and you were talking about how you hadn't tagged me in things leading
Oh
up to
yeah, thank you,
vulnerability, all that. Yeah.
thank you. See, appreciate that you're here because when I'm trying to do these things by myself, I have to like pause the recording and go, "What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Where am I
I'm the
going with
same, but
that?"
I can remember what you said. I can't remember what I said.
I love it. I love that this is so, like, honest and raw. It's awesome. But, yeah, I think when I first found out, like, through all of that stuff that you experience, all of the roller coaster, there was kind of an internalized ableism a little bit as well, where I kind of was like, "Oh, I don't surely there's a way that I can I can fix this or, like, um, move past my ADHD." Like, I don't know how to articulate it, but it was like I was like, "No." Like, that's great, but I was rejecting almost there was a part of me that was almost rejecting that part of me and didn't want people to know. There was shame. There was like, I don't want people to then think that I'm flippant or unreliable or, insert other things here that people's perceptions might be about what they previously knew about ADHD. And even me, before I started this deep dive rabbit rabbit warren into the world of neurodivergence and ADHD, I certainly had some preconceived ideas about what it was.
Oh,
And
I think everyone our
nothing like
age
my
did
experience.
because it was always, the impression was the conversation, the stereotype was that it was those hyperactive boys that are out there doing backflips in the playground supposed to be listening or something. You know what I mean? Like throwing their not being violent necessarily, but throwing their chairs around and being silly in class. That was what we were told ADHD was. And as we said before, sometimes the hyperactivity is in your brain, it's not physical. And the daydreaming and all of that kind of stuff. I was a real bookworm and a real, daydreamer. And Tegan needs to focus more. Tegan gets distracted easily. And at the time, you don't really think much of it, but then you look back, it's like, oh, if people knew, then it would have been easy to spot.
Oh,
But
100%.
no one was educated in it. There hadn't been as much research in it. It wasn't really girls weren't really considered to have ADHD in a lot of cases. So
No, no
yeah.
way. And it was like knowing what we know now is like a flashing neon sign, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
everything in my school report, like
Yeah.
the person that did my assessment, she was like, every single school report, every single one had signs. But again, my parents wouldn't have known that.
No, no
They
one knew
just
what to
wouldn't
look
have.
for. Yeah.
Medical professionals didn't even know to look for those things that you've just shared.
Which
And
is
I was
really frustrating.
100% a daydreamer. I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's frustrating when you look back on it, and it's hard to give everyone the grace that you need to give them because like it's that those conflicting thoughts. If only we'd known. Yeah, but they didn't
Mm.
know. But people know now, and it's like you wish that you could have had some different opportunities to not necessarily fix, but some strategies and whatnot to help you and to embrace your neurodivergence, the strengths of it, and at the same time you still have to think, well, it's no one's fault, no one knew. So it's very conflicting, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I think there's lots of parts of ADHD. And even in my assessment, there was the lady that completed my assessment said she recommended me to go for an autism assessment because there was lots of things that were coming up in my ADHD assessment.
Yeah.
So it's quite likely that I'm ADHD, which adds another layer to it. And there's lots of things, again, even in the ADHD experience. I don't know if you've experienced this, where it's like I can be the person that can get a week's worth of work done in a day when I'm locked in, like we were talking about at the start, when I'm hyper focused and I want to get the thing done because I've got like all of the things are ticked, like it's interesting, novel, whatever the thing is that's giving me that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And usually deadline driven, like that's usually the thing for me.
Oh
Um,
shit, that's due tomorrow.
yeah. And then I can be the most vague, like, where did the day go? What happened? Where did the time go? I don't understand how I've gotten, in my perception, nothing done. I probably have. I've probably deleted, distorted, generalized, forgotten about all of the things that I've actually achieved that day. But
Mm,
some days it's just we can be on or we can be nothing.
yeah.
And it's such a common experience, that sort of dichotomy of the a neurodivergent experience.
Yeah. And sometimes I find that, yeah, you need to, it's helpful to reframe things. So, oh, I spent a whole day editing a video, for example. Oh, but I learned how to use three different types of software, how to do this, how to do that, which next time it'll be a lot faster because I learned how to do that. If you just say, oh my God, I've just wasted a whole day editing this 1 minute video, blah, 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 like that's beating yourself up. And sometimes you have to, yeah, do that reframe, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I love that you've mentioned that as well. So you've mentioned a couple of times about, sorry, I'm just, there's like lots of, I probably should have cleared my desk. I get very easily, classic ADHD,
You haven't
distracted
seen
if I've
my desk. I only clear
lo-
up the side that you can see.
lots of distractions. I'll note this for next time. But what I was going to say was you mentioned before about um if like my God, Tina Turner, get out of my head. Or is it Cher? I think it's Cher.
It
Who's it
hasn't
Tina
turned back
Turner?
time.
Is it Tina
I did
Turner or
the
Cher?
sailors and the cannon.
It's Cher, isn't it?
Yeah,
With
yeah,
the
yeah.
like with the leather. Um
Yeah, and the fishnet, I think.
my gosh, what a segue. Um, but if we can't, obviously we don't have access to time travel as it stands right now, the recording of this.
Yeah.
Um,
Not
thinking
today.
through, not today, thinking back through your life, you said tools, techniques, strategies, that sort of thing. Like were, if you if your parents did know, or your teachers or whoever did know, and you were able to get those supports. But I think the thing is, well, because there'll be lots of people tuning into this that may not have access to get assessments or may not actually want to go down the path of formal diagnosis and may not want to take medication. It's all like all relevant. It's all totally like that's just the way the world is.
Yep.
If you were to think back over your life, because we did put like without even realizing it, maybe sometimes, unless you actually sit and think about it and reflect on it, there would have
Yeah.
been things that we created for ourselves or implemented in terms of tools, strategies, and techniques to actually get through life and to be
Mhm.
successful. You're a very, very successful person, and you were very successful prior to your ADHD diagnosis.
Thank you.
And I'm curious to know, have you reflected on what tools, what systems, what techniques, what strategies you incorporated into your life to still thrive and be successful and be an amazing mum and be an amazing human and be that person that you've needed to be throughout your life pre-diagnosis?
Let me preface that by saying I've burnt out multiple times. So even though from the outside it looks like all, you know, success and rainbows, it's not. There's another side to it as well, which is that regular burnout, chronic illness, all of that. So but yes, I have put into place various things without realizing why. Um, one of them is I have reminders going off all the time on my phone. So, you know, at 7 a.m. every day, it reminds me to take my medication. You know, at I went through a stage when I was on Ritalin and I was finding it difficult to eat. I had reminders in my phone to eat at certain times of the day and things like that. So, and I also have, you know, they talk about object permanence as well.
Yep.
If you can't see it, it doesn't exist. So that means my house isn't, you know, spotless and minimalist because I need to be able to see things to remind myself to do them. And so I need stuff to be out. Otherwise, I won't do it or I'll forget. So, um, and it, I'm not the only neurodivergent in my house. So there's a tray on the sideboard that we walk past 100 times a day, and that's where the ADHD meds live. So if you've forgotten to take it, you walk past, you see it, oh, better take that. But yeah, other things, visual things really help. So the magnetic calendars on the fridge, for example, with the chalk, they really help. Everything goes in my Outlook calendar because I can access it from my phone, from my computer, from anywhere there's an internet connection. If I write it down in a diary, and then I'm somewhere and I don't have my diary with me, what's the point? So, really leveraging that online cloud type thing to help keep me on track. And so I know that if it's not in the calendar, it's not on, sort of thing. So, what else? Those are the main things that I can. Oh, I know another thing that I've been doing, but it's since the diagnosis, is online co-working, like body doubling.
I
So
love that.
yeah, so and actually an in-person one as well. I've been to once, I'm going to again next week. But just that, at the start of the session, you say what you're planning to achieve, your intention, and then you work on it. At the end, everyone says what they achieved. Sometimes it's, well, I got distracted and went down a rabbit hole and did XYZ instead. Didn't achieve what I wanted to. Sometimes it's, well, I got halfway through it. I was probably a bit ambitious. And sometimes it's, yeah, I finished that and then I was able to start something else. But it generally, not every time, but generally stops you from procrastinating about things, because you actually have to set yourself a goal and concentrate on it for an hour or so at a time. So yeah, I can't really think of any others. I know there are plenty of them, but
Yeah. And some
I
of them,
can't.
because we've been doing them for so long, like
Yeah,
potentially our whole lives, there's probably heat that if you actually sat and reflected on it, that we just think are like everyone just does them, but they're probably actually coping mechanisms or strategies that we've developed from very young to actually do things that potentially neurotypical people would just do without having to think about it.
yeah, falling asleep. I have to have a meditation app or something like that going, because otherwise my mind just races. And um, even more so, I have to say, since I've been taking ADHD medication, because by then it's worn off. And so you're back to brain going a million miles an hour, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think for me, like a couple of the things that I didn't realize were strategies were I'd talk things through. Like
Yep.
if I can, because my brain's so busy and noisy, if I don't actually say the thing out loud, and this I've noticed actually since my diagnosis, I do this even more so when it comes to something with numbers because I have the dyscalculia element as well.
Yep.
Numbers has always been something that's been really challenging for me. So if I'm counting something or if I'm figuring something out or if I have to put a date in and remember a date that I'm putting into, say, entering a timesheet or something like that, verbalizing it and saying it out loud actually helps my brain to remember what I'm doing. Or if there's any steps that I need to take that I need to remember that I've done, even our truck doesn't have a warning thing that you've left the lights on. So it
Yep.
doesn't, how most cars will beep and carry on. So I
Yep.
actually have to say to myself, lights off every time that I've turned them off so that I know that I've turned them off before I hop out of the truck. We don't want a
Yep.
flat battery. So just those little strategies, the things that I mean, for me, I'm definitely a verbal processor, and it really helps me to block out the other noise in my brain by talking it out loud with somebody and talking it through. And bless my husband, he seems to be the main sounding board that cops most of my verbal processing, and he just rolls with it. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good sounding board, and
That's good.
um, yeah, I do feel grateful for that. I love that you mentioned the body doubling because that's something that a really good friend of mine has pointed out to me. She's also ADHD, well, she's ADHD.
Yep.
I forgot to mention at the start of this as well that throughout this podcast, my intention is to be inclusive. So sometimes I might use person first language, like person with ADHD or person with autism. Sometimes I might say autistic person. Sometimes I might just say autistic. Sometimes I might just say ADHD. But it's never from a place of trying to offend anybody or not recognizing the importance and significance of neurodivergence. So yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, frame that up as well for our conversation and for future conversations that I'll be having with people as well, because it's important to know that everyone's experience is different and everybody's identification with neurodivergence is going to be different as well.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, her and I actually body double by using Snapchat stories with each other. She'll actually, because you can, when you're recording, I don't know if you've noticed on, do you use Snapchat?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I'll tell you about it in a minute.
Okay, cool. But I didn't really use it much until this Australia trip. And I've been using it as a form of staying connected with a couple of people that are on that app all the time. But yeah, her and I will have our morning coffee. Like she'll Snapchat story me and she'll have it on while she's going about her morning and doing stuff. And I'll do the same thing. And it's like you're there with each other because you're talking to each other, even though you're not there. So that's a pretty cool. And she pointed out to me, well, we're actually kind of body doubling without having to physically be there, which is really cool.
Yeah, I find it helps with that object permanence thing, right? Because sometimes you can go quite a while between talking to your friends, especially it seems like in winter everyone hibernates around here a bit. So, but with Snapchat, I have about 5 people that we all Snapchat each other every day, and it might just be 1 or 2 pictures of my cup of tea or my coffee, or oh look, I've got a tomato growing in my garden, or this morning it was about my hair. So it's like that feeling when, and then I explained what happened. It was like, oh, we'll see how it dries. Um, but it's just that it's like I'm thinking about you. Like
Yeah.
I'm remembering that you exist, and showing you a little bit about my life, and I'm interested to see what you're going to send me about your life, because sometimes it's a long time between catch ups. Life is busy and whatnot, and I find, and it's good because like the pictures don't even matter; they disappear. It's fine. They don't take up room on your phone or anything. They can be stupid. It makes no difference. But it's just that, hey, I'm letting you know what's happening in your life. I'm interested in what's happening in your life. But like half the time, you don't react or respond to that particular message. You just send your own picture. But it's a fun little thing that a few of us do, and I quite like it as well. We do it in a similar way to how do you do it?
Oh, there was something happening again. Maybe I need to put my be like really, really
Absorb
hippie and
that
put it on my third
amethyst.
eye. Put it on
Yeah,
my
yeah.
third eye. Um, oh, it was something that you said that reminded me of something.
I've got my
Oh, good. I'm
is it
glad I'm not the
aquamarine?
only.
Good for
Yes, I'm.
communication.
Oh,
Good
yes,
communication.
the throat chakra, the communication, because I think blue is around there. Anyway, that's probably
Okay.
a little bit too woo woo. Um, oh, it was a good one too. You were talking about Snapchat. We were talking about sharing stuff. Oh, yeah. So the object permanence with, there we go. Thank you. Thank you, train of thought, for coming back. Choo, choo, choo.
Yeah,
Um,
you have to go through the process, right? You go back
yeah,
to
like
one
backtrack.
thing you remember, and then we said this, then we said that, and then it led to that. Oh, that's right.
But I don't know if that's an ADHD thing or if it's just a, I think it is because we go on so many tangents in our mind and have so many things
I
happening.
often
You have to
feel like it's
retrace the steps.
in Excel, when sometimes you have all these parentheses like nested within each other, I feel
Yes.
like, okay, then we go on to something new, then we go on to something new, then we go on to something new, then we finish that story, and then we can finish the next story, and then we finish the final story, and we've suddenly wrapped it all up and hopefully not
You won't
forgotten to
be
finish it.
finishing all of the stories.
Yeah,
I've definitely found that when
sometimes.
I'm with some of my ADHD friends, we might never finish those initial stories because we've found something even more exciting to talk about. With the object permanence thing, I don't know if you've had this experience, and I'm probably guessing that because you're a lot more organized than me from our discussions, that you probably don't do this. But if I don't automatically reply to a message or an email as soon as it comes through or mark it as unread, I'll forget about it. I'll actually, in my mind, think that I've responded to it. And because it's not sitting there as unread or flagged to respond to later, or I haven't set myself a reminder or whatever the thing is, it's like it's gone. It's gone from my memory. And in my mind, I think I've responded. And then, I mean, I even had someone the other day that sent me a birthday message and I hadn't spoken to them for 2 years. And I thought, my God, I care about this person. It's not that I don't care about that relationship or connecting with them, but life just happens. Life continues on, and we're so busy with so many things. And then I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but I feel guilty.
Yeah.
I feel like the guilt's come on if I haven't replied to someone in what's an expected time frame. And this is maybe some of that unwritten rules in communication and stuff that happens as well. And then okay, well, now I've got to, okay, so I'm going to make a concerted effort. Every time that someone sends me a message or an email, I'm going to mark it as unread so that I know I have to get back to them. And then that thing can sit there as unread for ages as well. Do you have any hints and tips on how to deal with this? Because I've been trying to, I've been trying to improve this whole communication piece for myself
But the
for
other thing is,
years.
not every, and this is something I tell myself as well, not every email or every message needs a response. Sometimes I feel like I'm responding just to keep the chain going, and it's actually not necessary.
How do you know if it doesn't?
I don't know. I have no idea. Still trying to figure that part out.
I love it. It's it is a big one because I feel as though as well, like the serious part of ADHD or neurodivergence and relationships. This is a big one. I think this is a big conversation and maybe I don't know what's the time. Again, time perception for me, like
Yeah, time
it's a thing.
blindness. Yeah.
Yeah, time blindness. I need to. I have something that I will. Brad has really helped me. My hubby's really helped me with being more mindful of time
Yeah.
and paying more attention to time, because before it was just what could, especially when I'm in conversations like this where I'm really enjoying it and I'm vibing and it's something that I'm really passionate about, boom, the
Mm,
time just goes.
yeah.
So I just want to be mindful of that time as well. But definitely the relationships and unpacking relationships and why I think you mentioned before, um, potentially being told when you were younger, or certainly for myself, being told, just don't worry about it, just stop thinking about it.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
let it get to
overthinking it.
you. Overthinking it is such a common thing for people that are internally hyperactive. um, I've always been a very sensitive person and I've always struggled with emotional regulation.
Mm,
And so for me, and there's probably maybe some trauma stuff that's tied in with this as well. But I've certainly always been a very sensitive soul and very connected, very tuned into the world around me, whether that's animals, whether it's people, whether it's whatever it is, any living creature. I've always been very tuned in and tapped into that. And so it's interesting to sort of unpack the ADHD side of it, that actually it's quite normal to experience emotions at a much, much deeper level being a neurodivergent person. It's something that I've found through my research, through connecting with ADHD communities and neurodivergent communities, that it's actually okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling deep feelings. And you mentioned before about burnout, and thank you so much for sharing that. My version of burnout in the workplace many times when I've overpromised, overcommitted, I can do everything. I want to prove to everyone that I can
I was
do
going to
this
say,
job. And
there's some people pleasing in that, isn't there?
oh,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. And it's, avoiding the rejection side of things, which is another, the RSD side of things is really strong in a lot of ADHDs and neurodivergent people as well. Um, and so just saying yes to everything and taking everything on, and then just feeling so overwhelmed that I'm not doing the thing to the level that I feel like everyone expects me to do, and taking on too much and doing, 14, 15-hour days. And I have been in tears, like physical sobbing, can't get a breath in tears in the workplace. I wouldn't say in every job, but in a lot of jobs where there's been a lot of that pressure. And no, that looks different to everybody, but the burnout that comes from feeling like you need to prove something to everybody
Yeah.
and maybe to yourself a little bit,
Yeah.
um, it takes a big toll. And I think I've also tried to be something that I wasn't a lot. Well, I know I've tried to be something that I wasn't a lot through my relationships and friendships and connections with a lot of people in my life as well.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that. The workplace stuff that you just talked about, feeling that you're feeling like, am I delivering? Do I need to just I need to do more? And it's hard to to know what the expectations are and what the level of good enough is as well sometimes. Um, Especially if you're a detail oriented person and you have, vagueness around, it can be difficult to know. And then what was the next thing that you mentioned? Oh, in relationships?
Relationships, yeah, and friendships
Yeah,
and
kind of
connections.
masking and feeling like you need to be a certain way in relationships as well. And with that, I have kind of started leaning into it and actually naming it and saying, and like I messaged you beforehand, right? And I said, what did I say? My ADHD is a mess today. This happened, that happened. I don't know what to do about this, blah, blah, blah. And I told you the story about, cutting my own hair last night. Now I just trying to give myself the grace and just laugh and say, oh my God, that's my ADHD. How funny. Because if I don't laugh, before I would be like, what the hell am I doing? Why can't I just get this right? Why am I making this spontaneous, stupid decision? Like, but now I'm just going, ha ha ha, ADHD. And it makes me
Yeah,
it makes me feel better because yeah, it's just more self-acceptance and leaning into it instead of trying to hide it away or pretend that it's not there or yeah, pretend that everything's okay on the surface when, yeah,
yeah,
doesn't work every time, but it's less heavy on myself when I can do that.
yeah. I totally resonate with that as well. And I was actually talking to someone about this the other day that since I've embraced and am integrating more of my ADHDness and accepting it and realizing that I can't bypass it,
Yeah,
like there's actually no, like, how you have the different routes that you drive and they're like, oh no, there's roadworks up ahead, go this way instead. We can't do that. Like we can't actually bypass it. It's part of our wiring. It's who we are.
yeah,
And the more I'm integrating that and the more I'm actually similar to yourself calling it out, even I'm now even doing it more in a professional sense in workshops that I run and stuff like that as well, where I might say, I'm sharing with you all that, I'm late diagnosed ADHD. Why am I sharing this with you? Because time perception is something that I've struggled with. So, by calling it out to you and letting you know that that's something that I struggle with, is it okay with all of you if blah, blah, blah? And I insert the thing here that to kind of set the standards with everyone, which might be if you've got questions that I know are going to be taken care of later in the what I'm delivering, is it okay with you if we keep going? Because otherwise it could derail and the time kind of just slips by and I get distracted. But by calling it out, people understand why I'm doing that. They don't think I'm being rude or dismissive and not wanting to answer their questions. They actually can understand the logic behind
find
it.
that. Yeah, and I remember you said earlier that when you first had your diagnosis, you kind of wanted to hide it away, and I think most of us have been there at some point, and but I find that most people are actually more accepting and give you a bit more leeway than what you expect. So, like you said, when you say, "Oh, I'm neurodivergent, and so I might get off track," for example, then when that happens, they're like, "Oh, yeah, she said that might happen." Like, but they're not judgy, like, "Oh my god, she's so scatterbrained." They understand then what the reason is, and they're more kind of, I don't want to say tolerant or accepting, but they're more in tune with you. Um, they're fine with it. But I really think actually naming it makes a difference.
I think it does too, because a lot of people are like self-diagnose ADHD or self-diagnose autistic or, recognize similarities in what their experience of the world is through maybe seeing stuff like you said on content online and stuff like that. By recognizing it and self-identifying if it's not a formal diagnosis, and also looking into, okay, well, what works for other people and how might I apply this to my own life to make life a little bit easier. And you mentioned that your journey was maybe potentially came to a bit of a head through perimenopause and all of those things kind of happening at the same time, and it was very similar for myself, where a lot of those tools, strategies, coping mechanisms, all of the things that we've sort of put into place weren't working for me anymore.
Yeah,
And the, the hormone fluctuations and, the brain fog and all of these things that were happening, the things that I'd been doing my whole life that had been working to a point just weren't working for me anymore. And my reason of going down the diagnosis path was to understand myself better and also find ways that were less demanding of my energy and demanding of my emotions to actually function,
Yeah.
which sounds like it might sound however it sounds, but for me, that was my reason for going down that diagnosis path and calling it as it is and being more lighthearted about it, about what's going on versus judgment, because we've spent our whole lives feeling shame and judgment towards not being this
Yeah.
person that we're expected to be. And by being lighthearted about it and being like, oh, yeah, ADHD, this is going on, that's going on, and being accepting of it, adverse and lighthearted towards it, it allows you to move on quicker. It allows you to
Definitely.
maybe correct what's going on quicker.
Yeah, and it reduces that rumination that when you leave a situation and you overthink, oh my God, did I say this? Did I say that? Did they think that I was being rude, or did they think I was silly by saying that? And I feel like now I can just say, oh well, like that's maybe I did say something silly, but who cares? And
Yeah.
because the shame thing you mentioned was you feel judged by other people and by yourself as well. You do it as well. And so if you can at least let go of the self judgment a bit, then I feel like the judgment from other people, whether real or imagined, has less of an effect yeah, once you let go of the self judgment.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one. I'm still learning it. I still have days that are harder than others. And again,
Me
the
too.
hormone factors and all that stuff come into play, and whether you've got more stress on your plate and all of those things. And I think that's a thing that I definitely have noticed even before going down the formal diagnosis path, was I noticed that I'd kind of gone down this health route with food intolerances.
Yeah.
And I've noticed more and more, the more that I'm piecing things together, I'm like, ah, that's a common experience with neurodivergent people as well, is the food intolerances or certain foods or certain things that you put into your body having a different impact
Yeah.
on a neurodivergent brain than it would have maybe on a neurotypical brain. And for me, it's gluten, it's sugar, it's dairy, it's, all of the common things that we
Yeah.
now know
Same.
amplify ADHD, maybe the more. And see, I don't want to talk about it being a negative thing, but the reality is there are parts of being a neurodivergent person that can be more challenging and more difficult.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're consuming things that are making that even more amplified and more difficult, and then having that level of awareness that, hang on a sec, maybe if I do drink a bit more water and have the object permanence drink bottle in front of me. So
We've got matching ones.
jinx, jinx. I love it.
Yeah. And you know
Um,
what? I have to have a drink bottle that has a straw on it, because
Me
if I have to take the
too.
lid off it, I'm not going to drink it.
No,
So that
who could be bothered with that? No one has time for that.
exactly. If
We've got more important things to spend
make
our
it
time.
easy, yeah, make the
Yeah.
habit easy.
Yeah, exactly. And having, for me, if we're, say, for example, prepping like a meal the night before that has a salad, make extra salad. So I've got something for my lunch the next day, so that I can actually just not go, too hard basket. Can't even be bothered to make myself a salad. I'll just keep working through. It's like, hang on a sec, it's already done. Bing bang boom, go grab it out of the fridge, chuck a tin of tuna or whatever in with it, and I'm good to go. And I
Yeah,
can keep going without my day without going, "Oh, well, I
yeah,
have to actually
yeah,
cut
I know,
things
right?
up
Oh, I should
to
have
chop
done
a
this.
tomato."
I frame that as present me taking really good care of future me, making future Tegan's life a little bit easier. So whether that's freezing leftovers in portions so they're easy to, defrost when I'm can't don't feel like cooking, or whether it's, pre-prepping a lunch, or whether it's, I don't know, cleaning something instead of leaving it, whatever it is, just to, yeah, make life easier for future Tegan. And if I frame it like that, it makes it easier for me to actually do the thing instead of, oh, I'll do it later.
and then later never comes. I
Yeah,
love that.
later. Yeah.
Um, I've also noticed linking back into the, I don't know if you notice when I'm really going into thought, I like look out of my window.
Yeah, my eyes
Um,
go either up here or over
mm,
there. Yeah.
mm, which is a very like anyway, we won't go into eye patterns, but I've noticed that the cycles, like hormonal cycles, uh, I'm starting to track now, which is funny, isn't it? Like we've had this thing that our bodies have been doing for so long, and so many people don't track it. But I've
Yep.
noticed that for me during ovulation, my energy is through the roof. And so I've got energy to clean, I've got energy to cook, I've got energy to, I'm going to do all the things, I'm getting things done in the, from a business perspective, I'm taking action, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And I don't feel burnt out. I don't feel like I'm depleted at the end of the day. So what I've noticed now is if I can map out and get the things done when I'm in that phase, and in that part of my cycle, and then give myself a little bit of slack and not book so many things in when it's, when I'm during my period or just before my period, because I'm just like, nah,
Yeah.
brain's not working for me, body's not working for me as well as it, not functioning at the level that I need right now. And give it a bit of downtime, give myself a bit of rest, give myself that space to not have to think so much. It's really,
Yes.
really helped.
And that's the same thing looking after your future self, right? Just prepping in advance what you can, or, getting done what you need to get done so that you can have that extra time to do the self-care or whatever it is that you need to do when you're not feeling so energetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So what I was going to say was that you asked me about what strategies have worked for me and whatnot. And people are always out there saying, oh, just do this, just do that, just write a list, just eat the frog, do the hard thing first or whatever. And that doesn't work for me. But even though we're both neurodivergent, what works for me might not work for you. And I think it's really important that when we're trying to figure out how to do something, how to get that executive functioning happening, how to start the assignment, how to, get things done before the deadline, we have to try a bunch of things. And what works for you might not work for me, and vice versa. And just because one thing doesn't work for you doesn't mean you're a failure, doesn't mean you're um, you know, all the things that your self narrative has told you in the past. It just means you haven't tried the right thing yet. So, who is it? Oh, I'm going to embarrass myself and get this wrong, but is it Thomas Edison with the light bulb? I think.
Yes, he tried, like,
He,
however many things that failed before he got to the I can't
yeah,
remember
it's
the
like I
exact number
didn't
because the
find,
numbers aren't my
yeah,
thing.
something along the lines of, I didn't find one way to make a light bulb. I found 1,000 ways not to do it, or something along those lines.
Yes,
I butchered that, but
that's
uh,
okay, but I think everyone that's listening will, well, we can pop the quote in. I can pop the quote in over the top of
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, the
The
actual,
power of editing, the power of editing. But
yeah,
it's so true, isn't it? And I
yeah,
say this all the time to my coaching clients, and it's funny because so many things that I share with my coaching clients that
mm,
I just notice that uh, you know, I'm potentially not doing all the time when I could be giving myself that gift. And I say there's no failure, only feedback. You're figuring out what you don't want and what doesn't work for you. And that gets you closer to what does work and what will work for you. And that's okay because
yeah,
we're all different. We're all as unique as our fingerprints. And um, giving ourselves the grace, which we've talked about a few times in this as well,
yeah,
even when something has worked for a long time and it suddenly doesn't work.
yeah.
I love that you shared about having the white, I think you said a
Yeah,
chalkboard,
the
didn't you, on your
magnetic,
fridge?
yeah,
Yeah, I've got a whiteboard on our fridge that I've got, even though I've got my calendar that's got everything in it that I access digitally, I've also got it on a whiteboard so that Brad knows what I've got coming up. And I can visually see every time that I'm looking at my fridge what I've got coming up for the day. Because the digital calendar, I started to ignore reminders and just snooze and ignore and ignore. And it became just white noise. And I wasn't actually paying attention to what was coming up for
yeah.
me. So I can't ignore that at the moment. It could change, but at the
Today,
moment it's there. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
working today. Have you read the book Atomic Habits by
Habit.
James Clear? I just
I
said,
have.
but I actually think that's really good for neurodivergent people such as us, because the way he talks about habit stacking and making it easier to, like, it's not just get up earlier and grind and hustle and blah, 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 just do it. It's actually helpful, like, put this near that, do this while you're doing that. Have If there's something that you find difficult to do and there's something that you find easy to do, match them up so that you can do the difficult thing while you're doing the easy thing or whatever. But it's actually a really good book, and yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone. And it's also about what works for you. Like, it's not necessarily the way you have it stack will be different to how I have it stack. So, because we find different things easy and difficult. And
That's
I
so
like
true.
how he built that in. It's a really good book. Highly recommend.
It is, yep. I'm glad that you've reminded me about it as well because I do audiobooks because I
I
find
was just gonna
it
say that.
yeah, I find it
Audiobook
challenging.
on 1.5 speed, whatever works for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So I found that again, I was like guilting and shaming myself about not being able to read a book and finish it all the way through. Whereas an audiobook, I can habit stack, listen to the audiobook while I'm cleaning or while I'm doing something else
Mhm.
so that I can actually still absorb new information and read or listen to something that I'm really interested in and I think will be helpful to me whilst also doing something else. Because that's just how I'm wired. But the habit stacking thing has thank you for mentioning that because that's been a really powerful changer for me as well, is doing something that I maybe put off or don't necessarily like doing. Um, at the same time as doing something that's a daily habit or routine that I
Yeah.
just do without having to think about it. But thank you.
It's like
Good
hacking
point.
hacking yourself.
Hacking yourself, yeah. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tegan. I'm gonna oh, okay. I'm like so excited because to wrap up the session
Oh
today,
my
I'm actually
god, that's an hour gone
I know,
already. I don't know where that
I know.
went.
Me either. I love that we've covered so many different areas of life and so many topics. It has gone really fast. And the only reason that I've noticed the time is because I was talking about time before and I actually looked at the time. Um, but I've created this little segment for the end of my podcast that I've named Tangent Time. So I've got some rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask you,
Oh my
and
god, okay.
it I know this is probably going to be like for someone that likes to be prepared
Mm.
and have everything mapped out, but just go with it. Trust whatever
Yeah,
comes
that's
up.
fine. That's fine.
No filter. Whatever comes up first. Are you ready?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. You come home and there's dishes in the sink. What do you do?
avoid them.
I love it. Inside or outside?
Oh, probably inside.
Inside. Awesome.
Yeah,
Noisy or quiet?
quiet.
Excellent. If you were a snack, what snack would you be?
Something that's sweet and salty. A Reese's peanut butter cup.
You've just spoken my language. Another thing we've connected on. We've got the Metallica.
Yep.
We've got all of the things. Now we've got the Reese's Pieces. And then the last question: what is something that's currently living in your head rent free?
I really don't know. What's living in my head rent free? You know what I'm going to say? That TikTok trend that's the four non blondes and
I love it.
that's living in my head rent free. It
For
just
me,
keeps
it's
coming back.
and I was thinking about this the other day because one of my thank you so much for answering those as well. I love your answers. They were so good. Um, I love that you just lean into it. Okay, let's just go with it.
Yep.
Uh, for me, it changes all the time. I even had a song from school that popped into my head the other day that because I loved singing. Like that was one of the classes I absolutely loved when I was at school.
Yeah.
And then also like random ads, like jingles to ads pop into my head all the time. But I've noticed I was talking to a girlfriend about this the other day. If I don't know the lyrics to a song, it gets stuck in my head for longer. It just loops. But
Yep.
if I know the lyrics, I can usually go "duh, duh, 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 duh," and it kind of moves on, and then something else comes into my head.
With me, what I have to do if I've got a really annoying song stuck in my head, I have to go and find it on like Spotify or whatever, listen to the whole song. It has to be to the end because it's like it's unfinished in my head. And then I have to go, all right, what song do I want stuck in my head? And then I listen to like half of that song. So that one's unfinished in my head. That's what I have to do because otherwise that unfinished song never ends.
Oh, it's so true. It's
I've
so
worked out how to
true.
hack it.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to try that. I actually am going to try that.
Yeah,
Tegan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being so open, being my first guest, as I said today on this podcast, and for sharing everything that you've shared today. And I'm going to pop the link to your business website as well in the description of this podcast as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved all of the different
absolutely.
things that we've covered. We've certainly gone like expansive. I love that we haven't sort of focused in on one thing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what
and
we do, right?
yeah, yeah. And, let's stay connected. Who knows? We may even have another follow up podcast sometime down the track. And to everyone listening or watching, thank you so much for being here as well. And stay tuned for the next episode and our next exciting guest. Thanks so much for tuning in. I trust that you got some value from this conversation today. If there was something in this conversation that you think would help someone else, please share it with them. Feel free to check out at The Wise Out Coach. I'll also link below. Bye for now.